It's true what they say. Marriage is about stability and retirement for women, but overtime and responsibility for men. The biggest problem with marriage and relationships today is that they have been made too public. Don't get me wrong, sometimes it's good to appreciate your partner. However, appreciating them in the public eye makes people automatically think the relationship or marriage is perfect. Nobody ever shares their fights or arguments. Everyone wants to share the perfect story. And when the marriage or relationship shakes, it all of a sudden becomes a private matter. 80% of people who publicize their love life eventually end up being disappointed most of the time. Just look at what's happening with Steve Harvey and his wife. It was all perfect when he posted about his wife on social media. And now, he's saying it's a private matter when reports surfaced that his wife was cheating on him with the house staff. There is something about mysteries that just makes things look special. Most private lifestyles are the most enjoyed because you have nothing to prove. This is why social media is the biggest lie in the world today. Marriage isn't what it was supposed to be. Do you agree? Women had been raised to be wives in generations. Their grandmothers in the 60s threw away generations of cooking knowledge that raised healthy children to become corporate slaves. Why do they still think they deserve to be married? There's no fixing this without a complete collapse. From social media to promiscuity, lack of fatherhood, and women having unrealistic expectations of men, there are just too many variables that have led to the fall of marriage as a concept. Getting married basically means you agree to a lifetime of added stress and drama that you didn't have before. As a man, you receive no money for doing so either. Most men actually enjoy living to work and are totally capable of living alone and independently. Women eventually realize how much they hate it. But by that time, they have alienated all the men who would have wifed them up and paid for their lives. They realize they have no choice but to keep working and living with their cat. Plus, the social pressures to get married and stay together are gone. Couples generally don't live close to their immediate families and don't have strong ties to the community, both of which are necessary to hold people, men and women, accountable in marriage. The fact that fewer and fewer young men are choosing to check out of marriage actually makes sense if you look at the root of all of it. Men are finally waking up and realizing marriage is nothing but a one-sided contract where she gets everything if she breaks it for any reason. Women have been told not to get married. That's the patriarchy. So now you have given both sides huge reasons not to get married. When you really think about it, it makes sense. About 60% of divorce rate is mostly initiated by women, and 20 to 25% in a marriage without intimacy, staying together for the kids, or fear of losing everything. Marriage is just a horrible contract to enter into with the government. Just do your own thing and keep your sanity. Throughout history, men have held the responsibility to protect, provide, and persevere. They were responsible for the protection of their tribe and family, their women and children, and their lands. They were responsible for providing for their families. This included food and water, clothes, and a roof over their heads. Throughout all of this, men were to persevere and fight off enemies, dangerous predatory animals, disease, and whatnot. Their women knew their role was to care for the children and maintain a comfortable home for their men to have a happy and comfortable life. We can see throughout history that whenever men and women have adhered to the roles prescribed to them by nature, they have lived good lives without disruption of peace from infighting or problems with the opposite gender in marriage. Today, all of that has changed. Not only are men, and especially women, not aligned with their own natural purpose, but they are also being spoon-fed a woke anti-male narrative that creates hate for men and eventually takes over men's responsibilities in society. On top of that, the entire legal system is designed to work against men and not consider their input in society or the fact that women can use a jaded legal system to advance their own interests. Due to the serious legal ramifications of marriage in the present day, many men find it impossible to even consider getting married. The ones that do make the biggest mistake of not knowing about it. So, the biggest mistake men making marriage is not understanding how the system is rigged against them. Men now face very high risk and little reward from marriage as a result of how family law has developed and changed over time. That is one of the main problems men have with marriage and the reason why more and more men are avoiding it. Family law has really advanced to the point where it is very high risk, but a poor return for men, and low risk, but a great reward for women, particularly if they want to leave it. In fact, 80% of divorces are initially started by women. This was something stated by Jordan Peterson in a recent video I came across. And the surprising bit is that quite a bit of those divorces are pre-planned for financial reasons. We all understand that even half of the divorce is pretty much the end of it all. As a result, if you find yourself in a married situation, and it doesn't even have to be marriage, the state will recognize that as a common law marriage, even if you live together for a sufficient amount of time, like in many Western countries. They will also regard your breakup as a marriage since, by law, they treat it as a marriage. It then includes child custody arrangements and marital assets that are intended to benefit women. This brings up another problem that males have. Why should a guy get married when they see so many other men lose their parental rights to women who don't care about the children? They just end up losing a major chunk of their paycheck, sending money to their ex-wife, and then seeing how severely their relationship with their own children deteriorates. For a good reason, such women are referred to as divorce machines. I'm not sure whether there is a solution or a method to get around the fact that men are purposefully and strategically avoiding marriage. Family law is intended to maximize women's hypergamous nature. They are always seeking upgrades to where they are at. I'm aware that some women may point out that their divorces didn't go that way, and that they had to pay the man. Yes, that can also happen at times, especially when the case is too obvious for the whole world to see, when a woman is trying to basically take all of his resources, even when the guy had practically done nothing wrong to her, not cheated on her, not abused her, not given her love, care, and attention. So when this sort of case occurs, the judges sometimes rule in the guy's favor, but it's very rare. However, because of the nature of the intimacy market and how men and women connect, guys frequently find themselves in situations where they meet attractive women who end up marrying them. Meaning that when they get married, the guys are a few points higher than them. Simply put, men married for intimacy, social value, feminine comfort, and purpose, which is to be a provider. But when they don't get intimacy, or they don't get that warmth and comfort they need, they start to avoid it. They start to avoid marriage when they don't really need to be a provider, because women are providing for themselves. They're CEOs and government leaders. They're decision makers and policy shapers. They're earning in the 6 digits and more. Now, I'm not saying that I don't support or appreciate women being in leadership positions. I totally do, and good for them. But when it comes to marriage, the changing roles of women and men have led to the changes that now exist in the concept of marriage. Previously, men and women married at a marriageable age when the woman was in her fertile prime and needed a man to start a family with. The man at that time was expected to provide for the woman, give her a home, and help her raise the children. Now, when the woman does not need a man to provide for her and does not want to have children in her fertile prime, she chooses to spend that time chasing the corporate dream that the woke feminists shoved toward her. She chose to climb the corporate ladder throughout her 20s and most of her 30s. And after the age of 35 and even up to 40, she suddenly realizes she has hit the wall. She realizes she probably cannot have babies, and that makes her frantic and desperate to find a man to settle down. On top of that, she realizes that all the men who flirted with her and wanted her over the last 10 years have moved on, are financially settled, and living happily married lives. So she realizes that men would rather be with younger women who are fertile and not too busy chasing their corporate dreams. And that's when it hits through the roof, and she starts going on an anti-man narrative. Today, there's no link, no connection, and no good reason for anyone to get married. This is the reason divorce rates are high, and marriage rates so low if we compare them with history. Soon enough, people will open their jaws in shock at anyone who says they're married. It will be a marvel and a miracle, and that day isn't far off. Mark my words. Thanks for watching Man Reacts. Show us your love and support by liking this video, sharing it with your friends, and subscribing to the channel. And let us know your thoughts on this in the comments. We're always up for a healthy debate and discussion.